Her friends exchanged awkward glances, their eyes darting nervously around the table. The tension in the room thickened, so palpable it felt as though the air had grown heavier, weighed down by the unsaid words hanging between us. I could feel the muscles in my jaw tighten, my fingers curling in the fist against the cool surface of the table. It was as if a storm was building, waiting for someone, anyone, to break the silence. Nora glanced at me, her voice forced into a laugh that didn't reach her eyes. "Jerry, come on," she said, trying to smooth over the growing discomfort. "You know they're just here to help out. We're all close friends." But I didn't care. The tight grip I had on my composure was slipping fast. Before she could finish, I cut her off sharply, the words spilling out of my mouth before I could stop them. "I don't care," I snapped, my voice sharp, making her flinch. "If you want to be with them so badly, go ahead, marry them, live happily ever after together. For all I care, I'm done with this. I'm done with being an afterthought." Nora's face fell, her smile fading as the weight of my words hit her. But it didn't matter. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't holding back. She needed to hear this, even if it tore us apart. Later, alone in my head, I rehearsed how I would explain it. I imagined myself saying, "Hey, this is Jerry, and I've got a story for you all." Bitterness would cling to each word. "Some of you might want to smack me, and I probably deserve it, but here it is." The scene played over and over in my mind. Nora had seen the small velvet box almost immediately when she walked into the room. How could she not? I hadn't exactly hidden it, not well anyway. Her face lit up like a child spotting a pile of gifts under the Christmas tree. Her eyes widened, sparkling with excitement, the kind that used to make my heart skip a beat, but now it only made me feel tired. "Oh my God, is this, are you finally going to propose?" she asked, her voice rising with barely contained anticipation. I used to love that about her, how she could throw herself into a moment, how her emotions were always right there, easy to read. But now I just felt exhausted by it all. I forced a smile, but it didn't reach my eyes. "Not right now," I said quietly, holding up a hand to stop her. "I've got something planned for tomorrow. It'll be a surprise." Her smile faltered just for a split second, but she quickly covered it up, pretending everything was fine. "Oh, okay," she said, a bit more subdued now, but still clinging to that excitement. "Tomorrow then," she said it like it was already decided, like nothing could possibly be wrong, as if she could see the finish line and we were still headed toward it without a single detour in sight. Then she started talking about our recent vacation, her voice brightening again as she reminisced. "It was amazing. You know," she gushed, "we had such a great time. It was really memorable." Her words at me like a punch to the gut. I leaned back in my chair, arms crossing over my chest, trying to process what she was saying. "Memorable, that's what she called it. Memorable, huh?" I echoed, my voice flat, almost hollow. "So you really enjoyed it?" She nodded eagerly, oblivious to the growing tension in my tone. "Yeah, I mean, come on, it's Hawaii. Who wouldn't love it?" Hawaii. I could barely say the word without feeling a knot tighten in my chest. "Did you miss me at all?" I asked, my voice quieter now, careful testing. She glanced at me for a moment, then shrugged as if it were no big deal. "Yeah, I mean, sure, but you left, right? So we just enjoyed the rest of the trip just like that," she said it so easily, so casually, as if my leaving hadn't changed anything, as if the vacation had continued perfectly without me. Without a second thought, the word vacation stuck in my throat, choking me. She was already moving on, talking about engagement and wedding plans as if nothing had happened, like that trip hadn't been the turning point, the moment when everything between us started to crack. I couldn't hold it in anymore. "Wait," I interrupted, holding up my hand to stop her from going on about the wedding. "Can we talk about the vacation first?" Her brow furrowed in confusion. "What do you mean? What's there to talk about?" I stared at her, incredulous. "Seriously, you don't think there's anything to talk about?" I could feel the frustration boiling up inside me, threatening to spill over. She blinked, completely oblivious. "Jerry, what are you talking about?" I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. "Why did you invite your friends on our trip? You Knew it was supposed to be just us. I had spent months planning that trip. Our anniversary, something special. I thought it would be perfect, but when I told her about it, she just shrugged that same indiff shrug that had been driving me crazy lately. They've never been to Hawaii before, she said casually. I thought it'd be fun if they came along. I stared at her, my heart sinking. She didn't get it at all. I had poured so much into planning this trip, imagining as our chance to connect, to create memories that would last, and she turned it into a group vacation. A girl's getaway with me left behind as a third wheel. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told you, I said, my voice tight with frustration. This trip was supposed to be for us. Why would you go behind my back and invite them? She shrugged again. I didn't think it would be such a big deal. Not a big deal. The words hung in the air and I could feel my chest tighten. She honestly thought it wasn't a big deal. I had spent planning every detail, every little thing for us, and she had casually turned it into something completely different. Something that didn't even include me. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my emotions in check. Tomorrow, I finally said, barely able to get the words out. Let's meet at the restaurant where we first met. We'll talk then. She smiled, completely unaware of what was coming, thinking everything was fine, that we were still on the same page. But tomorrow, everything would change. She just didn't know it yet. If Nora were telling her side, maybe would sound something like this: Jerry and I have been together for 5 years now. He's a good guy, honestly. Maybe even too good sometimes. I think he's just too easy. He never really argues. He just goes along with whatever I want, and at first that seemed great. Who doesn't want someone who's always easygoing, right? She would laugh, but she wouldn't understand how her words were slowly carving into me. Sometimes I wonder if Jerry has any strong opinions of his own. She'd continue, because he's always so eager to please, and while it's easy for me sometimes, I just wish he would push back a little. But I guess it's nice to have someone who doesn't make things complicated. What she didn't realize, what she couldn't see, was that those words were cutting me deep. I had put everything into this trip, planning it down to the last detail, imagining her face when she saw the surprise, imagining the two of us creating memories that would last a lifetime. But when she told me she invited her friends, it felt like she shattered everything I had built. I was stunned, blindsided. Jenny, Kathy, Marcy, they had no place in what was supposed to be our anniversary. This wasn't what I had planned, not at all. I tried to explain, to make her see how much it meant to me, but she brushed me off. They've never been to Hawaii, she said, like it was the simplest thing. You should understand. Understand? How was I supposed to understand that? How was I supposed to accept that what was supposed to be our moment had been hijacked by her friends? I should have canceled the trip right there, but I didn't. I was foolishly optimistic, holding on to the hope that somehow we could still salvage it. Maybe, just maybe, amidst the chaos we could still find time for ourselves. Maybe I could still propose. Maybe we'd laugh about this later, turning it into a quirky story to tell our future kids. But deep down I knew the truth. This trip was never going to be what I had imagined. I held on to that hope, even though deep down I knew something wasn't right. A part of me told me this trip wasn't going to turn out the way I had envisioned it, and when we finally arrived, it became painfully clear that my fears had been justified. From the moment we stepped off the plane, everything spiraled. Every time I tried to steal even a few minutes alone with Nor, she was off with her friends, laughing, snorkeling, lounging on the beach. I had planned this romantic getaway, an intimate escape for just the two of us, hoping to recapture some of the magic I had been imagining for months. But she wasn't interested in that. She was more excited about snorkeling with Jenny, or having drinks with Kathy and Marcy. The trip I had meticulously planned, the one I'd been so eager about, had turned into a group vacation where I was the odd man out. I felt completely deflated. Here I was trying my hardest to create special moments for us, trying to build memories that would last a lifetime, but she didn't even seem to notice. She was having the time of her life laughing and enjoying herself while I was just there, an afterthought. I tried to put on a brave face to pretend that it didn't bother me, but inside I was falling apart. It hurt so much to watch her have fun while I was left on the sidelines of what was supposed to be our trip. Eventually I couldn't take it anymore. I had to leave. I told Nora I was going home early. I couldn't stand being there any longer, feeling like I didn't matter, like I was invisible. When I told her things got ugly, she and her friends ganged up on me throwing insults my way. "You're such a jerk," they said. "What an asterisk hole, why are you ruining everything?" They made me out to be the villain, as if I was the one who had ruined the trip. But all I wanted was time with Nora, just the two of us. That was the whole point of the trip. Her friends weren't supposed to be there in the first place, but somehow I was the bad guy. The first left Hawaii feeling more alone than I had ever felt in my life. On the other hand, Nora saw things completely differently. In her mind I was just being moody. I was a great guy, the one who always did everything to make her happy, always put her first, but sometimes she felt I could be too much, too clingy, too involved. That's why she invited her friends. She wanted to have fun, to let loose and enjoy herself. She figured I wouldn't mind. After all, I was paying for the trip, and she assumed I'd go along with it like I always did. She didn't think it was a big deal. In her mind it wasn't like we wouldn't have time together, it was just that we'd have some extra fun with her friends. But when we got to Hawaii, things didn't go as she thought they would. I kept trying to pull her away to spend time alone, but she was having too much fun snorkeling, hitting the beach, laughing with her friends over drinks. It was everything she had wanted. Meanwhile I was growing more and more upset, feeling like I was being left behind, but she didn't see it that way. She didn't think it was that big of a deal. When I finally told her, when I told her I was leaving, Nora was shocked. She hadn't expected me to react that way. Sure, at first she and her friends were angry. They were pissed off that I'd ruined the mood, that I was being a jerk for leaving, but after I was gone they quickly moved on. They even met some new guys and had a blast without me. To Nora it was all just harmless fun, nothing serious. She figured that by the time she got back I'd already be over it, that everything would go back to normal like it always did. But when I saw her again I knew things couldn't go back to the way they were. She showed up smiling, excited, probably thinking we were going to patch things up, and of course her friends were there too, just like always, chatting and laughing, acting like this was their night as well. I should have seen it coming. We sat down for dinner and I placed the ring box on the table. I noticed the way her eyes lit up, how she nudged her friends, whispering and giggling. They couldn't keep their hands off the box, passing it around like it was some kind of toy. Then the comment started. Jenny had the nerve to say, "Oh, the diamond's kind of small, don't you think? Doesn't Nora Day deserves something bigger?" Kathy chimed in. "Yeah, she definitely deserves more. This doesn't really scream forever, does it?" I could feel my blood boiling. This ring, this proposal, it was supposed to be a special moment between Nora and me, but now it had been reduced to a joke, something for her friends to critique and laugh about after dinner. When the plates had been cleared away and the chatter died down, I took a deep breath, held the ring box in my hand and looked straight at Nora. "Nora," I began, my voice steady but firm, "I had planned on proposing to you. I had planned everything out, the perfect moment in Hawaii, just the two of us." Her smile faltered and I could see confusion flicker across her face. "But you ruined everything," I continued. "You invited your friends on a trip that was supposed to be for us. You didn't care how much it meant to me, how much I put into it. All you cared about was having fun with them." Her face fell and she glanced at her friends, unsure of how to respond. "You've missed a bus," I said sharply. "You've shown me what your priorities really are. You don't want a relationship with me, you want to be with your friends." Her eyes widened in disbelief. "But I wasn't finished. Even tonight you couldn't come here alone. You had to bring them along, like this is some kind of group event." "But I'm done with that. I'm a one-woman guy and I'm not sharing you with your whole entourage." The table Fell silent. Her friends exchanged awkward glances, clearly uncomfortable. Nora tried to laugh it off. Come on, Jerry, she said, her voice unsteady. You know, they're just here to help. We're all close. I shook my head. I don't care, I said, cutting her off. If you want to be with them so badly, go ahead, marry them, live happily ever after, but I'm done being an afterthought. Her friends looked down at their plates, the tension thick in the air. I called the waiter over, handed him some cash, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, I'm paying for what I ordered, just mine, keep the change. He nodded, though he looked confused. I slipped the ring box back into my pocket. Enjoy the rest of your evening, ladies, I said, my voice calm but final. I'm out. Without looking back, I stood up and walked out of the restaurant, leaving them all behind, stunned and silent. That was it. I was done. No more going along with what Nora wanted, no more being the one left out. I was finished being an afterthought in my own life.